Let's talk Spookies. 2019 has been a wild ride. In just a few days, we're getting the finale of the Skywalker saga in Star Wars. Avengers came to a shockingly glorious end. Robert Pattinson jerked off like 50 times in between beating the shit out of a bunch of seagulls. I bought more Blu-rays in one weekend than I have in the last 5 years, and directly related to at least one of those things, Vinegar Syndrome dropped a fucking high-def transfer of Spookies in our collective lap. I was going to go on a whole historical video essay about the road that led to this. I was going to talk about the early history of the film, originally entitled Twisted Souls, and how Vipco head honcho Michael Lee took Thomas Doran and Brendan Faulkner's fun, irreverent vision and mutilated it, ruining at least one career in the process. I was going to talk about the film's troubled release history and days languishing in VHS hell. I was going to get into a lot. But fuck it, if you want to know the history of Spookies, buy this Blu-ray. Easy. Done and done. I would say this is my favorite blind buy Blu-ray of the year. This is some excellent stuff from Vinegar Syndrome. It's not... actually, I don't know if it's getting as much press as Tammy and the T-Rex. I feel like they might be head-to-head. But Vinegar Syndrome has done more with this disc than I can... I couldn't even imagine anyone putting this much effort into a Spookies Blu-ray. Or even someone coming out with a Spookies Blu-ray. Let's just get into it. Let's give you a bunch of reasons why you should slide this sweet, sweet, dank Blu-ray into your guts. Yeah. First, the plot. It exists. The plot to Spookies is, it's tough because it's actually two plots rolled into one. Long story short, the original film was this little monster feature that was financed by a piece of shit named Michael Lee. And it was directed by Brendan Faulkner and Tom Doran, and they had a vision of sorts. It was not ever going to be a big, massive, breakout classic hit, but they were making a fun, somewhat irreverent monster movie, full of rubber and goo and blood, and, just a fun time at the movies. And that film is about a group of teenagers and older people. It's like the most inexplicable friends group you could possibly imagine. And they come to this mansion that they believe is abandoned, and they find basically a Ouija board. And using that, of course, they end up summoning all these monsters, and they have to escape the house or die horribly in the process. Very simple, nice, easy premise. Nothing too crazy there. And then Michael Lee, dipshit that he is, he meets this woman named Jeannie Joseph, who is editing another movie, and long story short, she directs another chunk of film, and this involves this old dude who lives in the basement of the house, I guess, and his 70-year-old bride, who's this young woman, and she's trying to escape, and meanwhile, he's the one orchestrating all these monsters, even though we saw them summoned by this Ouija board. And he's playing chess, and there's a cat guy. The point is, it's a clusterfuck of epic proportions. It is just everything is happening. You have no idea what's going on, why things are happening. There's shots where effects don't even exist that were supposed to be there, so you have characters just kind of going, whoa, 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 while ghosts should be attacking them, but instead it's just the air. And it is, it's a troubled production history. And that's kind of what it's famous for, is being troubled and making almost no sense and having farting mudmen. And that's the film. It's, if you hear that description and you're like, and you've never heard of Spookies, and you're like, that's the kind of movie I want to watch, I'm selling you a pretty straightforward bill of goods here. It is what you want to watch, if that is what you're looking for. It is a clusterfuck. I did rate it 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd because it was so fucking entertaining. And even though the filmmakers don't like the movie, I sure as fuck do. It is not traditionally good. It is not objectively good, but it has a lot of talent behind the camera, a lot of really cool creature effects, some weird character moments, and just enough inexplicable nonsense to really create an entertaining atmosphere despite all the problems. It is nowhere near as good as what the filmmakers intended, and that does make me kind of sad, but what are you going to do? I forgot to start the movie. Anyway, that's what you need to know plot-wise going in. Let's talk about the packaging. So I got the first version of the slipcase. I think both slipcases sold out. I could be wrong about that, but I do know that this slipcase sold out. So sorry, losers. Guess you got to go to eBay or like Diabolic DVD. Maybe they have them for like some ridiculous price, but I got mine. Fuck you. I'm sorry, I don't mean that. That's the weed talking. If you take the sucker out, you'll see it has the much maligned face. This is basically just the original famous poster for the movie, but you have the like girl here. I don't remember the character's name. The fucking asshole in the attic over here. And yeah, if you remember that poster, then that's what it is. So inside, got our 2 discs. I always do this thing where I'm showing you on camera, and I have B-roll rolling. I don't know why I do that. But you get 2 discs. In this case, actually, there's not a DVD. It's 2 Blu-rays, and you get the main feature with some basic extras, just your standard Vinegar Syndrome extras. And then you have this other disc for the special features, because the special features are very special. We'll get into that in a second. If you take out my brain's not working. If you take this thing out, you'll notice that you have, of course, alternate artwork. I'm gonna stick with the old poster design, but it's, you know, good artwork no matter what you decide on. As usual, Vinegar Syndrome has done a great job. Shocking, I know. So it's your standard Vinegar Syndrome release for all that entails. If you like their releases, you'll like this one as far as the physical quality goes. So, special features. Let's talk the first disc first, and then we'll get into the second disc, because that's where the really exciting stuff is. So firstly, from the film's 2015 screening at Alamo Drafthouse, you get an introduction. This is just an introduction that was played before the movie. But basically, Frank gives a quick and dirty history of the film, so if you don't want to, you know, watch, I don't know, maybe like an hour and 40-minute documentary that kicks total ass, you can get like the basic gist of the story with Frank's introduction. Also from the Alamo Drafthouse screening, we get a location tour with Peter Iasillo, who's one of the actors and actually sort of a standout in the movie. He's unfortunately the late actor Peter Iasillo. He died a couple years ago. This is a simple, cheap DIY effort from Peter. It's just him with a camera of some kind, just touring the area and, you know, being fun, being energetic. It's a nice little thing. I would consider maybe showing it before even a screening in my living room if you know I was doing that. If I was just showing some friends who had never seen Spookies this thing, I might show this just to get them in the mood. It's a good little feature. We also get 10 minutes of bloopers and outtakes. This includes the pin reel, which they talk about, and maybe, you know, a documentary we're going to talk about in a second. And basically, the crew would punish their fellow crew members and actors whenever they made a mistake by putting safety pins, like C-47s, in their hair and on their clothes, and just making them be dumb in front of camera. And then there's also various other behind-the-scenes bloopers and stuff. This is a nice chunky bit of behind-the-scenes, and it's one of those behind-the-scenes reels that I really enjoy, just because it looks like they had a lot of fun on set, which kind of makes it even more sad that things did not turn out very well. But it's nice to know that they had a good time. You can kind of see why so many of the actors and the filmmakers are so, I wouldn't say obsessed with this movie, but so into it still. You know, why they haven't disowned it is they obviously enjoyed themselves. And that's, you know, that's nice. That's nice to see. And so very good reel. We get a Q&A from the Hudson Horror Show in 2015, which apparently was just the year of Spookies. And this is just, you know, a bunch of the actors talking about the movie for a prolonged period of time, and it's a Q&A. If you've ever been to a reasonably fun Q&A at a film festival, that's what you're going to get, and it's nice. It's another nice feature. We get a 15-minute stills gallery as a video file, so it's basically just, again, like with every Vinegar Syndrome release, it's the soundtrack against a bunch of photos from the set, and it's 15 minutes of stills from the set, and it looks like they had a lot of fun. So, pretty. If you like Spookies, cool stuff. If you like just shots from behind the scenes, cool stuff. Moving on. Finally, we have the theatrical trailer, which is the theatrical trailer. The film itself was restored in 4K from a 35mm negative print. As such, it looks dope. As we go through this every time with Vinegar Syndrome. All the releases look great. Part of that is the fact that they are restoring movies that you would not expect to look great no matter what. So there is a certain level of just expectations being so low. But, I mean, they make clean, professional transfers. I don't know what to tell you about that. Every time it's the exact same. That's why I almost never talk about transfers on these reviews, because what's the point? It's going to be great. Fuck. Now on to the second disc. The second disc is where shit gets real good. So there's 2 documentaries. There's Twisted Tale, The Unmaking of Spookies. This is about an hour and 40 minutes-ish, and is a very in-depth look at the production process and subsequent distribution woes of Spookies. And it's all from the mouths of the folks that made it. There's 2 noticeable absences, which I'll talk about, but it's most of the cast and crew who are still with us, talking about the movie, reminiscing about good times, getting into the really bad stuff, and eventually it gets really sad. Like, it gets real sad. So, trigger warning for people that don't like tears, because this shit gets emotional. It is a solid documentary. It's not an amazing documentary, but it is a very competently made, solid doc. It wasn't on Letterboxd last time I checked, but I give it a 4.5 out of 5. I think a documentary that does that good of a job with its subject matter, despite some technical iffy moments, great shit. Just quality shit. I would like to smoke that shit. That's good shit. This documentary also has a commentary track, which I actually have not listened to yet, just because fuck man, there's so much material. What do you expect? So I haven't listened to the commentary. I'm sure it's great. If it's somehow like total balls, I'll mention it in the description, but I don't see why it would be. And then there's a bunch of deleted scenes from the documentary, so just extended interviews. So tons of information. If you're a fan of Spookies, jackpot. The other documentary is less great. The Vipco documentary that's on here, Vipco Untold, is not great. It kind of sucks. And the less I say about it, the better, because I'm going to come off like an asshole if I really talk about like the professionalism behind the camera and on camera. This British filmmaker found Michael Lee, who's also British, and got him to talk about the fact that he's a scummy criminal, basically, and seems pretty proud of what kind of a piece of shit he is. On the one hand, it's interesting in it could be interesting in kind of like a Fire Festival kind of way, where you're watching these assholes talk about how much of assholes they are, and you kind of commiserate on how much you don't like them. But at the same time, it's not a very well-made documentary. I don't want to say too much, because again, I feel like I don't want to sound like an asshole, but the guy who made this probably needed to hire an editor, and quite frankly, just doesn't seem to be very skilled in filmmaking, especially for someone who has like 100 credits on IMDb. I feel like at that point you should learn how to make a fucking movie. I'm considering this movie like a freebie on this disc, because I don't like it. I did not finish it. It was not something that appealed to me after I started watching it. Before I started watching it, it appealed big time. But then once I started, I just did not want to watch it anymore. So, big props to the other documentary. Twisted Tales is brilliant. It's such a good documentary. It has its pros and cons, but it is, at the end of the day, a very solid documentary and worth the price of the Blu-ray itself. And that's it. Spookies is a phenomenal release. It's one of my favorite releases of the year so far. Considering it is December 15th, I don't think anything's going to beat that. It is no like Showa Godzilla collection from Criterion. Obviously, it is a very standard release as far as, the physical release of it, and, the extras outside of the documentary are kind of standard issue. I do wish there was a commentary, even if it was just like Hysteria Continues or something, like a bunch of podcasters talking over the movie. I would take that, but that's a minor gripe. at the end of the day, what we have here is a phenomenal release. Great job, Vinegar Syndrome. Keep on putting them out, because you guys are impressing the hell out of me. And with that said, check out my other stuff on the channel. We have a Bond series that we'll be putting out the next installment of that in a couple days. And I'll be putting out more Blu-ray reviews, more kind of film essay type things, a few lists, stuff like that. Keep a lookout. Maybe hit subscribe, guy. Maybe just, click that subscribe button, and we'll be best friends, and you can tell your friends that you're my best friend. That's between you and me. You're my best friend if you subscribe. So subscribe to the channel. Other than that, press the like button. Watch my movie Fatal Future on Amazon. I have the credentials to talk about bad movies because I make them myself. And with all that said, rock on, buckaroos. Till next time. I don't know how to end video.